Okay. So we are ready, and everyone has the equipment that they need, I hope. And one beautiful thing about yin, I think placed on a Thursday night is pretty good timing. You know, as the week goes on, we kind of accumulate tension sometimes. And also you can do it in your pajamas. You can have your like coziest socks on. It's important that you have a softness underneath you. So if you're not using a yoga mat, make sure you have a blanket and that, you know, you're as warm in the room as you possibly can. And I'd like you to start in hero's pose. So you're going to be sitting back. I'll go sideways to show you. You can sit back. Some folks can sit directly on their heels. For most of us, we won't be here too long, but for most of us, stacking up blocks and sitting is one way. But there's also another way that you can use your bolster, and it's kind of like riding a horse. You can hop on like that and have your body in hero's pose. I'll go sideways. And sometimes I like this. It's a different. One thing that I enjoy about hero's pose is that not only does it start to stretch your quadriceps, opening up some lines of energy on the front of the body, but usually can help you find a neutral spine. Whereas when you're, you know, have your ankles crossed, you know, for most of us, there's a little rounding effect that happens. So in any version of hero's pose, do feel like the natural curve of your lumbar spine, natural curve at the base of the neck. So we're not trying to straighten anything out, but we're broadening, we're kind of opening. Getting access to a nice full breath. And we are grateful to be able to practice together. So I'm glad that you are seated back on your heels or on your bolster, on your block, right here in hero's pose. And I just want you to remember that this is a different kind of yoga. We'll be holding the poses 3 to 5 minutes with a minute or two in between. And you're going to come into the stretch to a tolerable edge. And then it becomes really a meditation on watching how the body responds. Naturally, anything that is a sharp pain is not what we want, but an aching kind of stretch is normal and expected. And same thing when you come out of a yin pose, there's almost always a feeling of being a little bit fragile for the first 60 seconds until the replenishing of the fluids and the rebalancing takes place. So if you would join me in lifting your palms up and just sending them out. When I think about blessing, I think about the capacity that we each have to bless ourselves and to bless others. It's a radiance that comes from our deep heart center. And sometimes the quality is simply warmth. Sometimes it's kindness. And sometimes it's really love, this universal kind of love. And so just starting like this, if you want to look at the screen and take pause, and the faces that you can see, you could send some kindness out through your palms. If all you see is someone's name, you can still send them some kindness. Just as a way to connect, even though we're not in the same room, I have found that this simple practice has something to it. And take 5 slow, deep breaths just right here. When you're breathing in, you might just imagine you are receiving the kindness and the loving awareness being offered you by your classmates. And when you breathe out, that might be the time that you can imagine just sending out goodness. We all need encouragement. We all need to feel like we are part of something good. And you can keep your right hand up, but take your left hand over your heart, slowly bow your head. And here you're pausing to honor and bless yourself, particularly self-love, self-acceptance is my wish for you in this practice tonight. This allowing, not problem solving or fixing or any of that. Really being present, showing up for you just as you are. And then let's take the right hand on top of the left, still the head bows, and we just bless not only each other, but we send blessings from our mat right on out into all of our relationships, into the places where we live, our communities, out into the world. And let this be a practice of inner peace and a practice that works its way out into the world as you know more deeply that you are the presence of love. Just feel how this breath is the art of giving and receiving, moment by moment, breath by breath. And I bless you. It is my prayer that by the end of class that you know a greater degree of peace, that your body responds well to the postures, that your mind have just a clarity and a settled nature to it, and that you're able to receive what it is that I am trying to offer you. That is my prayer, and I say this for Holly, Monique, Robin, and Mike, and Peter, and Anne-Marie, Kathy, and Anne, Alex, and Jane. You can release your hands. I'd like you to transition into a cross-legged position where we're just going to do a little spinal warm-up before we drop into our first kind of official yin posture. If you'd like to just keep using that block that you were on, if that's what you did, and now you can just come into a cross-legged seat. So maybe your hips are elevated. Maybe you decide that that's not necessary and the block goes aside. And do have handy, as I mentioned, you can have your bolster off to one side if you'd like. An extra blanket rolled would be a great idea if you have the ability to do that. And then let's start with the hands just right on the knees and circle. Just want you to be nice and loose and easy. Sometimes I think about this gesture, this action is just kind of like winding our way down and in this gentling down into practice. Start to open your senses into this moment. Noticing kind of what you're feeling through the skin, muscle, bones of your body, but also what's present for you in your environment. Can you let the room that you're in just hold you in a very particular way so you can kind of just be cradled by the energy of the room where you are? Allow your skin to soften, your pores to receive the air around you, as well as your nostrils as you draw the breath in and out ever more deeply. Reversing the direction of the circles. Noticing the sounds where you are. Gentle your eyes so that whatever you look at, you could really just behold it as something sweet. Taste. Notice if there's any taste in your mouth, if there's any fragrance in the room. Just bringing your senses online. Wind your way right back to the center. We'll do a few flowing side bends. I'm going to take the right hand out, left arm up and over, and just at your own pace. Doesn't have to match mine. And do remember that you can keep your camera on, you can turn it off, you can do whatever you would like. And if there's some critical information that you need to get to me, then you can unmute yourself and tell me. A few more times, just like that. Beautiful. Beautiful. You can slow that down, switch the cross of your legs, and we'll do a little spinal twist. Left hand to right knee, right hand behind you. Just 5 slow, deep breaths here. Let your shoulders drop around, down away from your ears. A little gesture of easing and relaxation. Soften your facial muscles and let your tongue relax into your lower jaw. Maybe put a little space between your teeth. Every so often, exhale with a sound. Could be just the therapy that you need. And then come with me, rotate. Let's twist the other way. Right hand onto the left knee. Support yourself behind you with your left hand. Rest your mind in the movement of your breath. And sending some loving kindness to the tight or constricted parts of your body. Your body's always doing the best it can in any given moment. And once you release the twist, we're going to set ourselves up to come down onto our backs. I'd like the opportunity to demonstrate for you. You're going to have your bolster in near your feet. And then you can drop down. And if you want to be flat on your back, that would be the gentlest way to approach this pose. Or if you're ready for a chest opener and a hip opener, you could roll your blanket and ease yourself down so the blanket is right underneath your shoulder blades and your arms can kind of come out into a wide space. And you can check that out and see how that feels. Feels good, keep it. If it doesn't, you don't. And for starters, we're just going to have the feet wide with the knees bent. And you're going to windshield wiper your knees side to side. So just bear in mind that you don't need to have the support underneath your shoulders if it's too much, if it doesn't feel good on your neck or anything about it just doesn't suit you, don't do it. And then I'd like you to rock your knees side to side. And feel how this warms up your low back. How it's bringing awareness to the glutes as you rock from side to side. You can let there be a softness through your throat. And just a few more times. Feel the way that your feet are rolling across the ground. That little stretch that you're getting on the top hip. And then slow that down. Where we're going next is we're going to bring the legs into a diamond shape or into butterfly with the soles of the feet together. So some of you will be happy here. Some of you have probably decided not to have support under your shoulders. Others of you can kind of scoot that bolster in, and you might want to take your feet and rest them on the bolster and then let your knees drop out to the side. And so here we are going to settle. You're coming to your tolerable edge, and then you're allowing your muscles to relax right onto the bones. You want to make sure there's plenty of sensation. And breathing slowly and deeply. Let your spine soften. If you are draped over support here, keep on melting. Bring some softness to the way that your chest opens, and feel free to make adjustments with where you want to place your arms. As the pose unfolds for you, it might go in stages. There's the initial stretch, and then about 2 minutes in, often the body just softens. And then you might make another little adjustment to how you want to place the arms or the legs. And then let your low back, let your sacrum drop down any amount so that you're not overarching the low back. Feel the heaviness of your thigh bones, drawing the legs out to the side. And keep your breath flowing very smoothly, very deeply. Yin yoga is really a way of intertwining meditation and asana together. It's just absolutely beautiful. The book that I'm reading excerpts from tonight is called 365 Blessings to Heal Myself and the World. It's by Pierre Prodervon. And this one is called Blessing My Body. Have you ever thought about or given thanks for and talked to that quite extraordinary instrument called the human body, which enables you to function day after day, year after year, decade after decade with incredible versatility? And that despite the rather rough treatment with which so many of us often handle it. So here's the blessing. Today, I bless my body in its perfect functioning and the gift and tool it is for me to live and play, work and serve. I bless my heart, which beats over 84,000 times a day without me ever giving it a second thought. Or my lungs, which inhale and exhale effortlessly and smoothly, well over 20,000 times a day also. I bless the trillions of cells which constantly communicate with an intricacy and perfection we have barely started to understand. I bless the hundreds of millions of chemical reactions happening every second, which keep the whole system functioning, and that utter marvel called the immune system, and the green and red lights it is constantly switching on and off. I bless my eyes that allow me to absorb the faintest nuances of nature's beauty and all shades of color, and which enable me to fall in love and hopefully one day rise in love with the object of my desire. I bless my ears, which enable me to vibrate to the slightest variations of sound and music, or listen to my friends' woes with patience and compassion. I bless my body in all its innumerable functions, which defy my wildest imagination. All that and so much more, with not one day's vacation in 40, 50, 60, 70 years or more. Truly, I bless this unbelievable marvel called my body. May I never forget to daily thank it and the universe for that without which I would not even be here on earth. Take some slow, deep breaths, just kind of absorbing that, blessing your body, appreciating it just as it is. Good, 5 more slow, deep breaths. And please take your hands down and guide your knees together. Roll over onto one side enough to get whatever support you might have had underneath your shoulders out. And then please lay back down. Come into a long, extended, long body position and just rest right here. I think it probably would be best if your thigh bones are parallel to each other. Do anything you want with your arms, but give yourself 5 or 10 breaths here just to integrate. You're letting your body digest the benefits of the pose. And you're also just creating space so you can process your life. You can attend to whatever arises for you in the way of emotion or thought. And then when you're ready, just hug your knees right on in. And some of you might want to curl up, kind of bring your cheekbones towards your kneecaps. And maybe you want to rock a little bit side to side, press your low back right down into the mat. And then put your head back on down and drop your feet to the mat. I'd like you to locate your blocks, just so that you'll have them available if you want to use them. We're going to come into deer pose on our back. And what I'm targeting is getting a nice stretch along the front side of the left quadricep, as well as through other parts of the body. So what I'd like you to do, with the feet wide, the knees wide, tip your knees all the way to the right for starters. So just drop both to the right. And then where we're going with this is we're going to take the left hand down and see if it's possible to make contact with the left ankle. Now, we'll do a little more setup before you're ready to hold. Some of you will find this is suits you just fine. Others of you might feel like it's too intense. So if that's the case, you can take a block and put it right outside your right thigh bone and let your right thigh bone rest on the block. You could also take the other block and place it down on the inside of your left knee, left leg, and that's going to give you a little bit of support there, as long as it doesn't undo the stretch, because I do want you to feel something strong. Now, the left heel is any amount close to the left hip, just depending on what your body will do. So just kind of play around with that. Some of you will take the left hand and hold it on the outer side of the left ankle, and a few of you might take that left hand, thread it under your left ankle, and find it interesting to grab the inside of your left ankle and just let your left shoulder drop down. I just want you to feel with the pelvis. So you've got, the left hip is clearly higher than the right. So you've got a chance to just relax a little bit. Let your pelvis kind of neutralize any amount. Broaden across your shoulders. Breathe. Make any other modifications. If it's not working for you, you can just create something different. If you think you would enjoy adding one more element, being a side bend, you can take your right arm long and then side waist, bringing your left shoulder a little closer toward your left hip, and then you're creating a side bend for the right side of your body. And you could certainly bend your right elbow and kind of cup your right hand along the left side of your skull if that feels good. You can roll your head to the right or to the left. Just kind of play around with that. And we're just going to stay for 3 minutes. Don't you connect with the smoothing of the breath? Remember, there's no need to overdo, and especially if you've got some injuries that you need to be respectful of, really encourage you to do that. And just noticing what you feel. Be present to it. If the body softens and opens, sometimes you wiggle in a little deeper, and sometimes not. Blessing myself. I bless myself sincerely and joyfully for being the utterly beautiful, divine creature I am, at one with the source of infinite love. I bless myself as a child of the universe, a child of the light in which there is not a speck or residue of darkness or self-condemnation. I bless myself in my sinless joy, boundless bliss, and total contentment, my ageless, tireless being. I bless myself with wisdom, enlightenment, discernment, and understanding. I bless myself as Spirit's manifestation of glorious liberty, total freedom, and unlimited innocence. And this is also true of all humanity. I bless myself in my perfect oneness with the ground of being, the unconditional cosmic love force called the Creator, which sustains every cell and atom of my being in perfect health. And I bless myself as my sisters and my brother's keeper, overflowing with compassion, a fount of unending tenderness for every suffering heart. And finally, I bless myself in my constant enjoyment of the green pastures of the kingdom within, which I share with all humanity. 5 slow, deep breaths. When you feel ready to come out, please come out carefully. If you have a block to the right, slide it out, and then maybe carefully stack your left knee on top of your right knee. Then draw your knees in towards your chest and come on to your back. You can hug the knees in if that feels neutralizing. You can lengthen your legs back out if you like that meditation of just a very still body that you can sense what's going on. Or some of you might want to cross your left knee over your right knee and just let your legs relax right like this. Maybe your right foot even finds a comfortable place on the bolster. Bring your spine into neutral, your pelvis flat on the ground. Allowing a rebalancing to take place. I'm going to switch to the other side. So we'll start with the feet down and wide. This time the knees are dropping left. So this is deer pose on our back. And you're going to make those modifications that you need to be able to stay in the pose with a fair amount of intensity, but not so much discomfort that you get extremely agitated. So remember, you can take a block on the outside of your left leg if you want, as long as it doesn't prevent the stretch from happening. The other block could be placed somewhere on the interior of your right knee for some support. And the right hand goes down and connects with the right ankle, foot in some way. And play around with drawing your right heel in towards your right hip in order to create a deep stretch from your right front hip down your right thigh bone and over the right knee. Good, settle and just decide if you're going to integrate a side bend into this also, in which case take your left arm long and then start to shorten your right side waist, walking your shoulders to the right a little bit, reaching out so you get a long stretch from your left side waist to your left hand. And then feel free to bend your left elbow, let your left hand find some just kind way to connect with your upper body. Settle into your breath. Grateful for the blessing of this time to be in practice and the resources to do so, the time, the desire. Remember, after coming to that appropriate edge in kind of a non-aggressive way, just really finding your way in. And then carefully just making those little adjustments to the sensation as the pose unfolds for you. Allow your breath to remain steady. Just kind of keeping in mind where you're targeting with this stretch. It's not only that right quadricep, but you've got something going on in the back and across the chest as well. And become still and relaxed. Let your muscles relax so the deeper tissues can get the full benefit of the pose. When your muscles are tight, they inhibit access to that deeper connective tissue. And holding the pose also will start to increase range of motion in some of these body parts. So I do get a lot of feedback, and I personally see that I enjoy the practice of yin, but I particularly enjoy the effect afterward and even in the days to come. Just look much more mobile. You send loving kindness to those tight or constricted parts of your body. And as you stay tuned to the whole array of sensations while your body's in this shape. There's compression, there's expansion, there's some restriction, there's some opening. And just bear in mind, you can turn your head in a different way if you would like. Can you release any clenching, particularly in the right hip, right leg? Notice any quality of balance, equanimity, whether it's kind of mental balance, emotional balance. Just notice. And 5 more slow, deep breaths. And then if you'd like, scoot that block out from underneath your left knee if you used it. Please very carefully come on over, stack your right knee on top of your left. Then bring your knees up and in and roll onto your back. Little knee hug here. And then find neutral, whatever it is for you. It could be straight body. It could be just this gentle draping, crossing of the right knee over the left. Let both of your shoulders flatten down onto the ground at this time. Let your hands be soft. Take some breaths that are smoother and deeper than any that you've taken thus far in the practice. And notice the calming quality of the inhale, just that very receptive mode, and the nice releasing quality of the exhale. Finding that steadiness of mind, whether you're feeling full or empty. Some contentment in just allowing the moment to be. Our next pose will be Happy Baby. So please draw the knees in and then start to take the knees wide. Let's do a few circles with the knees just to warm ourselves up a little further. So I've got right hand on right knee, left hand on the left knee, and circling both knees around. A few times in each direction. And the next time your knees are drawn in towards your armpits, then start to elevate your heels. Keep your legs bent. Slide your hands up the outer shins and just see, are you able to grab the outer ridges of the feet? If not, you can come back down and grab the backside of your thighs, right behind the knee creases. And so you could do any number of things. Kind of classic happy baby looks just like this. The shin bones are vertical, the arms are vertical also. But you could do something different if it's easier or you just want to. Bring your heels in towards your groin, and you could take your happy baby version just right here. So I've got the feet close together, knees really far apart, drawing down with the head, shoulders, and particularly the low back. So classic happy baby, feet in, or might be some of you that like really just want to take your feet out further, and that could be your pose next. So try a few of those on for size and then decide, and just kind of commit to staying there for a little bit of time. And science tells us that it takes about 2 minutes for the deeper connective tissue to really start to loosen. So that's why in yin we hold the poses usually at least 3 minutes, sometimes 5. There's some practices of yin that hold the poses for 10 minutes. I just like to keep that little 2-minute awareness, because then I can pay attention to when the release happens, if it happens. I find that just really, really interesting. You are having the practice that you need to be having today. And this blessing that I'm reading to you is called Seeing with the Eyes of the Heart. I bless this day in the infinite beauty that will unfold as I learn to see with the eyes of the heart. The beauty of my neighbor, whatever the material appearances, glorious or grumpy, the resplendent beauty of creation, of nature bedecked in so many constantly changing forms and colors, the infinite opportunities to express gratitude, to the cashier for her radiant smile, the local baker for his delicious bread, the public transportation company for an efficient service, or for an especially kind receptionist or the friendly nurse at the doctor's office, the food which blesses my table 3 times a day. And I say yes, 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 for the innumerable opportunities to bless, knowing that each sincere blessing returns to me too. Grateful for the water I drink, for its cleanliness and those that produce it, for the clothes I wear and their convenience or beauty, and my amazing body for its 24-hour performance. Truly, blessing enables me to discover love's perfect plan for me, moment after moment after moment. Five more deep breaths. And then as you release, just take a long stretch and reach for your block. So we're going to do a little supported shoulder stand before we kind of switch positions. So long stretch, reach on out through your feet. So you got like kind of like a little flush going on. And then when you're ready, lift your hips up and put the block underneath. And if 2 blocks side by side like this gives you a wider base and that feels more secure or just appropriate for your body, go ahead and use 2 blocks side by side. And then draw the knees in and float your feet up. Supported shoulder stand. So this is very much a downward flow, a gravitational pull, which is to our advantage in this situation, helps drain the lymph or the fluid out of the legs, allows that fluid to come and be circulated through the lymph nodes, clearing out toxins, and considered to be a good boost to the immune system by having the legs up. And then place your hands anywhere you want. You have the opportunity to bless yourself with your hands. So if you just want to rest in some place as a gesture of blessing, like you might put your hand on the top of a child's head, a little child that you really loved, that hand of presence and blessing, you can do that for yourself. And then just sense and notice. It's fine for your knees to be bent. What we want is the least amount of effort to hold the legs up. So if this is not restful in any way and you need an alternative, I can suggest keeping your hips on the block, but take your legs long. I just find my calves land just right on that bolster. So if that feels just a better option for you than a supported shoulder stand, you can go for that. Notice any sense of spaciousness, just natural, at ease, and stepped off the fast track. Slowing it all down. Five more smooth, deep breaths here. And you can softly let your legs bend. Come on down, press into your feet. Please take that block out. And come on over to one side and then up to a seat. Our next pose is Dragonfly. It's a wide straddle. You can take that rolled blanket and unroll it and then refold it if you'd like to sit on. Forward folds really have some advantages, but they also can be taxing on the low back, and this is an attempt to help with that. So you're seated on the folded blanket, and bring your bolster around in front of you, and then stretch your legs out nice and wide. And remember, this is not a practice of rushing. So everything is part of the practice. Shifting, transitioning between poses, engaging with your props. It all matters. So in preparation for folding forward, you can take the padding of the buttocks, draw it back a little bit if you want to feel like you're sitting more squarely on your sitting bones. Your legs are wide, clearly going for a big stretch on the inseam of the legs and the back of the legs. You've got those two blocks. So if you live inside a really tight body, you could bend your knees and tuck your blocks behind your knees, and you might have a more pleasant time of it. And then we're going to draw the chest up and forward, down, and we're going to drop the gaze. We might even drop the head. And then you can consider how you want to use the bolster. If you're pretty tight, sometimes people like to take the bolster up on its short end, come forward, and just give a little lean here. Maybe rest your forehead on your hands. That's got a nice calming quality to have your forehead resting on something. So you can experiment with different heights. And again, you can rest your forearms here. You can rest your head. Or you might be having a day where you don't want a lot of support. Your body's really just calling for strong and intense, and you don't want a lot of props. So breathe out, let your feet relax. Feel the length of your torso. As your eyes close, notice the opportunity to go inward. Soften your throat and your jaw, your eyes. Let your shoulders relax down away from your ears. Stay steady, stay breathing. Notice how your body is continually compensating and accommodating. There is a wisdom and intelligence in our body systems that we can tune into when we pause, get quiet. I also have found that yoga turns up the volume on our emotions sometimes, so just be willing to listen without trying to fix anything or solve any problems. Let it be simple. Simple inhale, exhale, simple body position. Just keep moving toward the opening, any opening that arises. Notice the quality of the breath as it comes in the body through the nostrils and down through the airways. Notice the sensation of the lungs filling and that breath making its way back out the body. Notice that feeling like your bones are being tugged on. So notice how you can stay calm even when sensation is really strong, both physically and sometimes emotionally. And take 5 slow, deep breaths here. And we were in quite deeply, so please be careful as you come out. Remember, it's expected that you'll feel fragile. So walk your hands in, nice and easy. Feel your torso stack right back up until you're vertical. Maybe you assist with your hands to bring your knees up and in, have your feet flat, and then you just lean back. And you can take this opportunity to open through the chest and kind of push down through your hands. You can let your head fall back if that feels good for you, or you can tip left ear toward left shoulder, right ear toward right shoulder. Maybe your knees just naturally want to gently drop from side to side. Next pose is belly down. It's Sphinx Pose or seal. That bolster that you've been using, that can be placed at the top of the mat. I'm just going to turn sideways, a little easier to show you. That other blanket you don't really need right now. That can go off to the side. And then please bring yourself right down onto the belly. And just for 5 breaths or so, get yourself lengthened down the mat, stack your hands, and rest your head. And those quiet moments, those pauses between postures are intentional, and I'd like you to make good use of them. Please don't check out and start thinking about what's for dinner later. I want you to spend those quiet moments absorbing, feeling in relationship with your body, your breath, the moment, and your life. Very important segments. And when you feel ready, you're going to lift your chest up, prop yourself up onto your elbows. And there's a lot of ways to adjust this pose, Sphinx pose, according to what your body needs. If you've got low back sensitivity, you might want to have your elbows further forward. You can even cross your forearms and then just let your belly sink down. Your spine will naturally arch a little bit. And then you can be very natural with your head, wherever it just wants to go without any strain. So this is kind of the gentlest version right here. Or you can go back to where I started you at, on your elbows, you're on your forearms. And then if your low back does not like this degree of compression, you can activate by pressing the pubic bone down into the mat a little bit, and you'll lengthen your low back by doing that, and that might work for you. And there's some of you that will come up into seal with your fingers splayed wide, your palms down, and your fingers angled out just slightly, your thumbs pointing in toward each other, and lengthen out your arms any amount. And so there we go. You've got your starting point, and you might find that a few minutes into it, your body softens and you go with a little bit deeper variation, or you might discover that you're a little overly ambitious and where you thought you might be isn't really what's good for you. And you can, again, experiment with engaging the buttocks to help smooth out the low back a little bit, or you can relax the buttocks and then the belly drapes even more and the low back gets even more compression. So we're targeting the low back, the kidneys, and the adrenal glands. We're also opening the lines of energy on the front side of the body, which we also did earlier when we were stretching our quadriceps in reclining deer. So you can kind of notice you're pretty far into your practice. So I'd like you to notice what's happening with the energy in your legs. Can you take your shoulders back and down a little bit? And do make sure that you're not straining the neck by trying to hold your head in some unnatural way. Come back to that very smooth, deep, slow breath, full body breaths. Only doing what's right for you. Yoga is one realm of life where nobody can boss you around. This is your time. This is a blessing for the divine order behind everything. I bless the amazing divine order in nature, from the tiniest molecule to the rolling of the galaxies in our stupendous universe. I bless the divine order in my life and that of my neighbor, even when to the human sense of things, this order is all but apparent. I bless the exquisite, stunning order that runs over 37 trillion cells that make up my body, and the hundreds of millions of chemical reactions occurring every second. I bless the divine order in the universe that is constantly arranging innumerable possibilities for me and for all to progress in life, if only we will listen to the quiet whispers. And finally, I bless the divine order that is leading the whole of humanity through the many upheavals present and probably to come, to the win-win paradigm, which will finally give birth to that world which works for all, which is our divine destiny. 5 slow, deep breaths, right where you are. When you're ready to come out, please drop down onto your belly. Let your head relax down. You can stay there with your legs very still, or you can bend your knees and windshield wiper your feet side to side. Just notice that little playful action of the feet swaying. Notice how you're rolling over the quadricep muscles. Maybe that feels good. And then this rocking of the pelvis, the opportunity to loosen your low back. And just feel how close your heart is to the ground, to Mother Earth. We are shortly going to head back into child's pose, and then we're going to come back down onto our back, like a little yogi's choice movement, and then into Shavasana. So when you're ready, place your palms outside your chest, peel your body up and back. And if you want to pause in tabletop before you come into child's pose, that's what I'm going to do. Let your head hang down. Give it a little wag. Maybe you kind of want to rock the table. You can flow through a little cat and cow if you'd like to do that. Or maybe you just have an inkling to come into downward facing dog. Stretch out your legs. Feel free to do that. And then when you're ready, we're heading into child's pose, knees wide. You've got some options with your props. You could bring that bolster in, kind of hug it like that. You could have the bolster out, put your palms on it, and then drop down. That's a big shoulder opener within the wide knee child's pose. So lots of ways. You just decide how to place your arms, how to place your legs. I'd like you to feel this as a release for your low back. And soften your jaw. If you haven't yet gone, this would be a good time to do that. And relax your face, your jaw, and let that easiness just keep on filtering down through your neck and your shoulders, your arms. Feel the breath as it moves in and out, particularly right now into the belly. Some deep belly breaths here might be nice. Filling out that space between the legs. Just feel that lengthening, the low back, that filling out, that spaciousness across your low back. This is a blessing to see the divine in everything. Today, I bless myself in my ability to see the true spiritual reality behind the veil of material appearances. When I behold the beauty of a flower, I will see divine love smiling at me. When I see a flock of sheep, I will remember that the divine shepherd, infinite love, is constantly guiding me and all. When I see my neighbor, I will remember that I am looking at myself in disguise and joyfully bless what I see from the deepest wellspring of my soul. When I look at the sun, I will rejoice in the reminder that I am the light of the world, as a great spiritual teacher taught 2,000 years ago. When I look at a loaf of bread at the baker's or fruit at the supermarket, this will be a reminder that I live not by bread alone, but also of what the Spirit whispers to me in the secret of my heart. Am I listening? When I see a person in tears or deeply afflicted by some woe, I will silently bless them in the divine joy that waits in their heart to spring forth and lift their pain. When I pass a hospital, I will bless its patients in the fullness of their health that awaits in them to be discovered. And finally, when I pass a mirror, I will exceedingly rejoice in the joyful blessing of the son or daughter of infinite love that I behold there. 5 more slow, deep breaths. When you feel ready to rise, please walk your hands back in, drop over onto one hip, and we are coming down onto our backs. But I want to give you a couple of options. You might already just know organically what your body wants to do before you rest. If you'd like a suggestion, you can take your bolster and you can run it lengthwise. Come on up and take a final chest opener here, either with your head on the bolster, or if your neck allows, your head can hang off the bolster. Just take it as an open body, whether legs are long or they're bent. Just really want you to feel a nice long flush if you're up for that. There's also a more intense way to use your bolster, which would be to turn it crosswise, like we started with that rolled blanket underneath the shoulder blades, but you could do it now with the bolster. For some of us, it might be a good idea to have a block available under the head if you're deciding to take this really deep stretch. So do what feels good for you. Just want you to feel the chest open if possible. I'd like you to feel the length in your body. Or if you're Shavasana, you can go in early. Otherwise, you can stay with me here for a minute or so. Just notice what you feel. Feeling the flow of breath, flow of sensation, just the ever-changing weather of the mind and the heart. And of course, whenever you feel ready, you're going to switch into corpse pose, into Shavasana, where you are laying flat out on the earth, possibly with rolled blanket or a bolster underneath your knees, the back of your knees. Getting ready to cover up with a blanket. And ready for the savory meditation that Shavasana is. It's a meditation on well-being, on wholeness. So first of all, rest your body comfortably, spaciously. You want to feel like everything is balanced. Arms, legs, trunk of the body. Relax the root of your tongue and let your tongue rest in your lower jaw. Let your head, the weight of your head, fall back into whatever is supporting you. And feel the progressive softening and softening of the skin, the muscles, the joints, and even the bones feeling like they get heavier and heavier. Feel the blessing that it is to be in a warm and safe room. Let the whole trunk of the body be easy, your hips relax. Feel your legs softening and your feet just cozy and relaxed also. And as you rest, I'm going to guide you through something called Resting in the Shower of Grace. And it comes from The Way of Grace by Miranda McPherson, the book that I'm doing with my women's group. As you relax, close your eyes and turn within. Feel the natural rise and fall of your breath, drawing you deeper in and down inside. Receive each inhale as a welcome and each exhale as a natural melting deeper into the present. And as thoughts come, don't fight them, just don't follow them. You can imagine a hand of light upon your crown, as if that which you are calling upon is right here. That biggest love transmitting into you luminous love, limitless awareness, and every enlightened quality, and beneficently blessing you with subtle nutrients and support. Just as you naturally receive the light of the sun, which makes the daylight, see or sense yourself within a cosmic shower of golden light. You are already in it, and it contains the light of all enlightened beings, all dimensions of grace. And perhaps it also contains the love of anyone you have ever been close to who is no longer in physical form. Allow yourself to marinate in this divine shower. It contains every blessing. As you soften and relax, allow yourself to feel the presence of that which knows you and loves you eternally. Allow yourself to be drenched in celestial blessings and completely restored. Feel yourself not only in this light, but part of this light. You are claimed by it and given back to your true nature. And somehow, the more we are open, what it is that we need most finds us. Sometimes it's fresh understanding or wisdom, healing, gifts. All these qualities come online in their own time. And just as scent is unseen by our physical eyes, but has a powerful effect on our consciousness, the blessings of grace are subtle, but powerfully affect us. The more you engage in gentle effort, the more a divine hand comes. It can lift your life and your practice to a whole new level. And in time and with patience, it is inevitable that one day you will open your eyes and see that you are gazing from within the presence itself. And you begin to feel soft and full inside, naturally wanting to share these beautiful nectars of grace with everyone. friends and yogis, I bless you from the top of your head to the tip of your toes. I bless all that you do that is work and that is play. I bless where you live, and I bless the people that you love. And I send you all wishes for peace and health and happiness now and always. Namaste, and I hope that you stay longer in rest. Thank you for letting me lead you in practice tonight. Take good care.